All right, when you're picking a partner for a big project, you look at all the usual stuff, right? Their team, their tech, their reputation. But what if I told you that one of the biggest factors in your success or failure comes from a relationship you can't even see? Today, we're going to dive into this hidden dynamic, your partner's relationship with their own suppliers. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. Could your entire project's success really hinge on some conversation happening in a room you're not even in? It's a pretty critical question because a lot of the time, the answer is a resounding yes. Now, we're not just pulling this out of thin air. Everything we're talking about today is based on this really insightful report from Virtualization Options LLC. They're a tech research and advisory group based out of Colorado, and they've done a serious deep dive on how these behind-the-scenes relationships can literally make or break your project. Okay, to really see what this looks like in the real world, check out this story. It's about a bridal boutique. A bride's dress gets damaged just days before her wedding. Total crisis, right? Well, the boutique owner calls her fabric supplier, who she's worked with for 15 years. And because of that long-term trust, the supplier pulls out all the stops, rushes custom fabric overnight, and doesn't even charge extra. The wedding is saved. See? That's not just a simple transaction. That's a deep partnership working for the end customer, the bride. And that story really gets to the heart of it all. You've got to figure out who your partner really works for. When the chips are down, whose side are they on? Is it their vendor? Is it their own wallet? Or is it you? So the report actually lays out three main types of partners you'll run into. First, you've got the vendor-first partner. For them, keeping their supplier happy is job number one. Then there's the bottom line first partner. They're all about maximizing their own profits, plain and simple. And then, the one you're looking for, the customer first partner. Their main goal is to make you successful, and they use their vendor connections as a tool to get you there. Okay, so how in the world do you tell which is which? Well, you've got to watch what they do, not just what they say. Let's start with the big flashing red flags. You can spot a vendor-first partner a mile away. You bring up a problem, and what's their first instinct? To defend the vendor? That's a huge tell. They'll love to brag about their platinum partner status, but when you actually need them to use that status to help you out, suddenly they get real quiet. They're not your advocate. They're basically just a sales channel for the vendor. And then you've got the bottom line first partner. Funny how their expert recommendations always seem to be the most expensive options, isn't it? They'll jump ship to a new vendor in a heartbeat if the incentives are better, or try to upsell you on stuff you just don't need. It's got nothing to do with what's best for you and everything to do with padding their own pockets. But then, there are the good ones, the customer-first partners. They're a totally different breed. A problem comes up, they own it. No finger-pointing, just how do we fix this? They'll even suggest a solution from a competitor if it's the right move for your business. They use their vendor relationships as a weapon for you, not a shield for themselves. Okay, so watching for these signs is great, but you can't just be passive. You gotta go on the offensive. And this report gives you the perfect tool for that. A set of 5 killer questions you should ask any potential partner before you even think about signing on the dotted line. Think of these 5 questions as your personal vetting toolkit. When you ask, how do you pick your vendors? You're listening for them to talk about your needs, not their kickbacks. When you ask, what happens when a vendor drops the ball? You want a real concrete process, not just, oh, we'll handle it. And asking for an example of when they recommended a non-preferred vendor, that's a great test to see if they're really focused on solutions or just their own portfolio. And here's a side-by-side that says it all. You ask, what happens when a vendor fails? The bad answer is vague, defensive, oh, that hardly ever happens. They're dodging. But the good answer? It's specific. It shows ownership. They give you a real example of when they went to bat for a client and got results. That's the sound of a true partner. So you might be thinking this is all just about, good vibes and a better working relationship. But it's so much more than that. The data from this report is crystal clear. Choosing a customer-first partner has a huge, tangible impact on your business. Let's get into the numbers, because they're pretty staggering. First off, problem solving. Things go wrong. It happens. But with a customer-first partner, those vendor issues get resolved 67% faster. Why? Because they're not just filing a ticket. They're calling in favors and using their influence to put you at the front of the line. For you, that means less downtime and fewer headaches. Okay, this next one is a monster. We're talking 3.2 times higher revenue impact. That's not a small difference. It's a massive multiplier. And it makes sense, right? When you trust a partner, you do more with them. They bring you better ideas, the relationship grows, and so does your business. It's a direct line from their customer-first attitude to your bottom line. And it's not just about making more money, it's about saving it too. On average, these partners deliver a 23% cost reduction. And that's not by just picking the cheapest, bargain basement vendor. No, it's by getting things right the first time, optimizing the solution, and lowering your total cost over the long run. It's just smarter spending. So, when you put it all together, what are we really talking about? A customer-first partnership isn't about ignoring vendors. It's the opposite. It's about a partner who has mastered their vendor relationships and uses that entire ecosystem like a strategic asset, all to get the absolute best result for you. You know, this line from the report just says it all. Anyone can be a good partner when things are easy, but the real test, the only test that matters, is what happens when things go wrong. Do they hide behind their vendor's policy or do they stand in the trenches with you? That tells you everything you need to know. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you sit down with a partner, new or old, what are you going to ask? Now that you know what to look for, what's the first thing out of your mouth? Because asking the right question, well, it could change everything.